And my thank you to the Social Democrats for using their time to put the spotlight on this topic. But we need more than a spotlight. We need continued light through the democratic process of TDs answering questions and getting answers. And Minister, I'm afraid I'm not reassured here, and really I have a difficulty when things are personalised. But something is very wrong in your department, let me say that. I'm looking at your speech and weasel words come to mind. Absolute weasel words, and we deserve more than that. But those who went forward and took their courage in their hands deserve a lot more than that. I have raised this matter, I've checked, on the 4th of February, the 10th of February, the 11th of February, the 17th of February. I was told the evidence was gone. And you know why it was gone? To protect people's confidentiality. A terrible reply. People's confidentiality, as you well know, can be protected in many ways. And indeed, of the 550 people approximately who came forward, only a small group asked for their anonymity to be to the fore. I think 60. So what that tells us, Ministers, that overwhelmingly people came forward to say, please publish our stories, people, please listen to us. Not alone were those stories not published, but lies were told. I use that word very advisedly. Lies were told that the evidence was destroyed. Now we find out it wasn't destroyed at the last minute. And that in itself raises questions about the whole trust of this process, because if a commission of inquiry tells us on page 11 of the confidential report that the evidence was destroyed, and it turns out there were backup tapes that they didn't tell us about, that brings the whole trust of what they've told us into, and you haven't mentioned that today. It's pretty serious that we were told that on page 11, ostensibly in the patronising patriarchal language, that we were doing it for their good. And we look at these weasel words. You're not opposing the motion, but what are you doing? Are you extending the time for the time necessary? I'm not sure. I understand the sentiment of it. I don't think a year is necessary. I firmly of the belief that a commission of inquiry is independent. But this is beyond independence. There are serious practical questions here to be answered. How were we told it was destroyed, then not destroyed? How? On what basis? What legal basis? What time is necessary? Are you happy to stand into the shoes of the Commission as the most important person in the government at the moment if there's a judicial review? Just clarify that for us. Clarify when the testimonies, the transcript will be written out of these tapes, by whom and when they'll be available. So they're the two issues for me. That there's a body there that can be the subject of a judicial review, notwithstanding how difficult that is for ordinary people on the ground. Clarify that today. Take your courage in your hand, please. It's not what I deserve, it's what the people deserve. And secondly, in relation to the testimonies, when will they be written out? When will that transcript be available? When will the report on the St Patrick's Guild's Home be published? When will you tell us the result of your investigation into the leak of the report? When will you tell us, has everybody who asked for a copy got a copy? When will it go to the libraries? How can you ask anybody to rectify their testimony if they don't have a copy of the report in the first place, and secondly, a copy of the transcript from the recording? For God's sake, and again I use the word God, you know, we have somebody here in this department, or a group of people, telling people what's best, not learning anything at all. And therefore, that's your role, unfortunately maybe. You might embrace that role and begin to lead. I've asked you this before. You'll have my full support if you lead. But this is not leading. This is a weasel words all over again, and the same weasel words that were used in the report. And finally, I'll conclude by saying, I listened to an interview yesterday with a former Supreme Court judge referring to an article in the Irish Times. And honestly, the content of that shocked me to my core, and I thought I'm old enough not to be shocked. The manner of that, what was reported in the paper yesterday, or the day before, is truly shocking. It's clearly the troops have rounded up the boys' club, but on this occasion there are women, unfortunately, in the boys' club, protecting what should not be protected.
Thank you very much, Deputy. Thank you. Next.